I want you to remember that no bastard ever won a war by dying for his country. He won it by making the other poor dumb bastard die for his country. And then, all this stuff you've heard about America not wanting to fight, wanting to stay out of the war, is a lot of horse dung. Americans traditionally love to fight. All real Americans love the sting of battle.
General George S. Patton, taking a stand for democracy. General Patton was a lieutenant in World War I and a general in World War II. He took a stand against dictators, fascism, and led the U.S. Army to become a commanding force in World War II, when America joined the war in 1941.
George Smith Patton was born in San Gabriel, California in 1885. He grew up in a military family. He had fathers, grandfathers, and great-grandfathers who fought for America dated back to the Revolutionary War. He was raised to stand up for freedom. George went to West Point Military Academy. After he graduated, he married Beatrice Banning Eyre. He was drafted into World War I in France in 1917. This was the start of his life in war.
During World War I, Patton was given command of a tank platoon. He was also a commander of a cavalry unit while stationed in France. Although a leader, he did not go into combat as much as he wanted to. He was taught to observe, to learn, not to engage in battle. World War II started in 1939 when Germany invaded Poland. Adolf Hitler was the Führer, or Chancellor of Germany. America stayed out of the war until Japan, one of Germany's allies, bombed Pearl Harbor in 1941. Patton was then stationed in North Africa in command of the 7th Army. What is democracy? Democracy is a type of government where the people rule and they elect who shall represent them in government, usually by elections. Germany, ruled by the Nazi regime, were fascists ruled by dictator Adolf Hitler. Fascism is a type of government in which military, nation, and race exalts over everything else. According to an article based on the book In the Garden of Beasts, U.S. Ambassador William Dodd explained how the Nazis eradicated the freedoms of press so that only newspapers and magazines and other forms of literature supporting the Third Reich could be published. He then tells how Hitler blamed the Jews for all their suffering and implicated laws that stripped them of their freedoms. Hitler forced into his people's brains that Germans were better than anyone else, and every soul who thought differently were to be eradicated from the face of the earth. But through General Patton's actions, he had something to say about that.
Operation Torch was his first major victory. General Patton and his army invaded Casablanca, where he established himself as a respected leader. He then invaded Sicily, where he led a glorious campaign and was the first to reach Messina, Italy. This was the last major city that Patton and the 7th Army needed to capture to force the Axis powers out of Sicily.
Patton takes a break from his campaign to help General Eisenhower with plans for D-Day. When Patton returns, he is assigned to lead the newly created Third Army. Following D-Day, the Third Army leads a great campaign across occupied France. He helps win the Battle of the Bulge. His status was growing with every win, and soon he was unleashed into the heart of Germany, Berlin. The reason why Patton kept on beating the Germans was that he perfected the art of lightning-quick tank maneuvers. He could send his tanks in faster than the Germans could in their blitzkrieg. He was the only Allied general that the Germans feared. In the Battle of the Bulge, Patton's Third Army inflicted 55% of the Germans' casualties and only received 9% of the Allies. One of Patton's quotes was, "May God have mercy on my enemies, 'cause I won't." His mindset was to go in quick, kill them all, and take no prisoners. When he gave a speech about the Germans, he didn't refer to them as people. He said that the Germans were animals that were going to kill everybody in the world unless they killed them and ate them for dinner. That's the way he needed his men to look at the Germans. He also said that it's all right to be afraid, and that if you were not afraid on your first battle, you were a liar. He cared about his men more than anybody realized. General Patton stood up for democracy because he knew, along with the United States of America and its allies that this movement was wrong and would end democracy for all nations. He was a true leader by training his men to win. According to estateofgeneralpatton.com, Patton's army liberated and conquered 6 countries and covered 81,522 miles of land. An example for his toughness was during his campaign, he made a policy after liberating Buchenwald concentration camp. He forced the German citizens to go through the camps and see what the Nazi regime had done.
Post-war, Patton was put in charge of Bavaria as their military governor. He was later discharged of his position because of his harsh comments on denazification.
After Patton was discharged, he was put in command of the 15th Army, but was only in charge of that for a little over 2 months. He was killed in a car accident. If Patton had not been there to toughen up our soldiers and to never quit, the Allies might not have won the war. If he had not taken a stand, our society would not be the same as it is today.